Representative LaFave, so when you're walking down the street and somebody, an officer comes along and you don't look like you belong in this country, and they decide to throw you in jail for a 48-hour period, which I believe this talks about. A lot of our municipalities nowadays are really struggling with jail overcrowding. There's no room in the jails at all to actually hold the actual convicted criminals. So a lot of communities now are going to a system where they have to do early release programs to let people out early that haven't completed their entire sentence. So because you don't look like you belong and you've been thrown into jail, there's going to be just to be held until they figure out if you do belong or not. There's going to be an actual convicted criminal potentially let loose on the streets, again, potentially endangering the public. How do you feel about that?
Well, Representative, respectfully, that is not what this substitute does. You are not allowed to be arrested and thrown in jail because of what you look like. That is blatantly illegal. We need probable cause.
What is probable cause? Can you tell me what that probable cause would be in this particular instance?
Well, I don't have a law degree, so I'd rather not get into specific examples of what probable cause is or is not. But looking like you don't belong certainly doesn't sound like probable cause to me.
Yeah, and I'm just...
From a layperson perspective,
yeah.
Not a lawyer.
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunately, I believe that this particular legislation just leaves things so wide open. There is no definition, and I tell you what, as a former law enforcement officer in the state and in one of the communities in my district, this is not the type of thing that I would want to have to abide by. I want to have clear direction in what my powers are and what the results of those powers are going to be, and this certainly does not do that. And I'm very afraid, concerned for members of many communities across Michigan who have never had a problem. Some of these communities in rural areas that are going to be subjected to having to devote time to something like this when it's really not even a problem. We're creating legislation in hopes of finding a problem.
Not in hopes of finding a problem, but in an effort to be proactive. And I would hope that our law enforcement agencies and our municipalities aren't not enforcing federal law. So we're not looking to create a problem. But when elected officials pass legislation or laws that require our law enforcement to ignore federal and state laws, then we're trying to be proactive about that not happening. I feel that they put law enforcement officers in conflict and operating outside of the law.
If I may, Mr. Chair, what we're trying to do here is we're actually asking our peace officers of this state, police officers, to go out and do the work of immigration officials when I believe that citizens of many of our communities simply want the laws of that community enforced. And by this legislation, they're not going to be able to do that because they're going to be too busy chasing people around trying to find out who's who.
No one's asking them to chase anyone around.
What are you asking them to do?
If you come into contact with someone who, for some reason, has a tail light out and end up not being able to produce an ID, so you have some probable cause, and then the person can't, is taken in because they don't have a driver's license, then we're asking them to enforce the federal laws that are already on the books.
See,
we're not asking them to do something they're not already required to do.
So we're going to take somebody to jail because they don't have a driver's license.